So this is my first time, so bear with me. I'm also 18, so it's sad if you don't clap for the young one. Just saying. So, like I said, I'm 18. I'm graduating next month, and I can tell you honestly, I did not think I would make it. And that's because when I was 10, I did something so stupid, most people don't believe it. So a little backstory is I grew up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's sort of this like ski town. It's kind of like Boulder, but a little more secluded before all the rich white people moved in and turned it into a resort. And so I thought it was super cool. I had grown up with my siblings. They were all outdoorsy people. They skied, they biked, they hiked. And so I wasn't never really one of those people, but I thought it was really cool. And one day when I was 10, my best friend at the time, Kristen, she invited me to go camping with her family and her older sister and her older sister's best friend. And I was like, all right, yeah, like I love camping. I camp all the time. Yeah. And so we go out, we spend our first night, we roast some marshmallows, eat some hot dogs. It's great. Everything is wonderful. I'm like, man, I love camping. And so the next morning, Kristen and I are up. We're running around in the dirt and hanging out in the trees and running through the streams. And Kristen's older sister, who's 16 in high school, who I thought was the shit. Like, she was the older, more mature, like, cool older sister, and I was like, man, I want to be like her. And so Kristen's older sister and her friend are like, hey, we're going hiking. We're going to go up that mountain over there. And I'm like, great, like, let's go. Like, I love hiking. Like, I know how to hike. Never been hiking. Mm-mm. And so we start up, Kristen's older sister, her friend. We're all hiking up this mountain, and it's really nice. It's a beautiful day, perfect. And we are going up this beautiful trail, and then the trail stops. But there's still sort of this crest that we still have to go up, but there's no trail. And we're like, oh, like, that's kind of weird. Like, the trail ends, but me being this totally expert hiker is like, we can just find a way up, like, it'll be fine. And this is in Jackson, where it gets really dry in the summers. And so we're all like, oh yeah, like, you and Kristen's older sister and her best friend start off on a different way, and Kristen and I start a different way. And so I start walking, and we're walking on these giant boulders, and we're hiking around, and then it turns into scree. That like little rocky stuff that slides. And we keep walking, then all of a sudden we hit dirt. And I'm not talking about like any dirt, I'm talking the dirt when there are those mounds in the parking lot or random places and you just want to climb up it and you can't because you just keep falling and falling and falling down. And so we're hiking and we get to this part and I'm like, oh, like, we'll be fine, like, we'll just go across. And Kristen's like, dude, like, that's a valley over there, like, that's a terrible idea. I'm like, no, like, we'll be fine, I'm a hiker. And so I start walking and I start sliding. And not like a little bit, I'm talking like sliding down the mountain towards the valley. And I'm like, oh God, this was a terrible decision. I don't know how to hike. What have I gotten myself into? I'm gonna die. And so I'm there and I hit the ground and I'm like, okay, like, I'm just gonna stay here, like, it's fine. And Kristen's like, come back, Marrakech, like, come back. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh no, I'm not going back, like, I'm gonna die, like, I'm gonna slide off this mountain and I'm going to plummet to my death. And she's like, come, like, we need to go back down, like, I'm struggling, I'm trying to get back over. And Kristen and Kristen's older sister is at the top now with her friend watching us down below, literally just watching me struggle on this patch of dirt, sliding down slowly towards the valley. And I start panicking and I'm freaking out and I'm like, this is where I die, like, oh my God, I'm never gonna be able to graduate, like, I'm never gonna see my mom again, like, oh my God. And Kristen's like, just come back over. over. And so I sort of just flop down and start shuffling my body against the dirt, kind of like this, like trying to get back over to Kristen. And Kristen's like, you're okay, like, stop crying, like, you're fine, like, there's no valley, like, just come. And so I make it over to Kristen. By that time, I'm like, I'm fine, like, I'm okay, like, let's just not talk about this, like, it's fine. And so we get there, and Kristen's sister meets up with us. I'm still sniffly and red-eyed, and Kristen's sister is like, what happened to her? Like, and Kristen's like, oh, she just, we're not gonna talk about it, like, she's fine now. And so we make it all the way down. I'm still sniffling, trying to get my act together because I thought I was going to be dead. And we get down, and Kristen's parents are like, you guys were up there for hours. Like, what has happened? Like, it's dark by the time we get down. They're like, we're about to call search and rescue. Like, we saw one of you just, like, sprawled out on the dirt. Like, it was so sketchy. Like, what were you doing? And I was like, nothing. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's fine. And so I go to bed, and that's the end of that night. And the next morning, no one talked to me about it. None of us spoke about it ever again. I've seen Kristen a few times, and she's tried to bring it up a few times as a joke, and I ignore it every time. Thank you.